Hello.
How's it going?
Hello, viewers and listeners. This is Mostly Dead Folks, a podcast about lives of the past and the way we keep them alive today. We are now at, believe it or not, at episode number 6. I believe it's our 7th episode, but technically 6th. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Who would have thought we'd make it this far? Could have done it without you wonderful subscribers and listeners, of course. And the numbers are slowly ticking up.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. A little bit more. We have a very special episode today. We're going to switch things up a little bit, and Brian's going to tell us about the format of today's special episode.
So one of our friends and benefactors, a Mr. Price, got us this very fancy wheel, which we doctored a little bit so that we could put the numbers on there and everything. But we're going to let this wheel decide. So we have 10 topics, 10 questions, just at random. And we'll go from there. We'll let the kind of wheel of doom, in a sense, decide what we go with today.
I like it.
So,
absolutely. You know,
right.
are you a Zootopia? Are you a Zootopia household?
I like Zootopia.
Have you seen Zootopia 2?
I have not seen that yet.
So my kids are obsessed with it, and there's this Shakira song that is now my wife's favorite song. Of course, she hears it every day. It's called "Try Anything."
Try it. Well, that's in the first one, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, it's in the first one.
I skipped right ahead. I don't know how I was able to follow along with the plot of Zootopia 2, given that I didn't see Zootopia 1. But
okay. Well, that's a problem.
Well, no, it's a problem. I think it's more of a problem you haven't seen Rambo 3. That's the bigger problem.
Well, you're probably wondering why this rabbit and fox are working together, but anyway.
I actually really wasn't, because it's Disney, right? Anything can happen. But here we go. So we're going to try anything in honor of...
There you go. Of Shakira?
Yeah, in honor of Shakira. Can do no wrong.
There you go. Shakira, if you're out there, subscribe.
Yeah, Shakira. We'd love it.
All right.
All right, first spin. You want me to spin first?
Yeah,
all right, here we go.
Spin. Here, I'll hold the base so it doesn't go flying into our statue.
Let's see what we got. So it looks like number 6.
6.
All right, 6. So
topic 6.
I will point out I have no idea what's coming here. This is going to be totally off the cuff.
All right.
So it could be a disaster.
So question 6 is, what is a big accidental discovery in history?
Ooh, accidental discovery.
Yeah, so something that was discovered accidentally, and we are lucky that it was discovered.
Accidental discovery in history. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is I could go with Christopher Columbus accidentally discovering America, which of course was Hispaniola. Thought he was in the Americas, got it totally wrong. Yeah. And for the Taino people, this was a disaster of an accidental discovery. Of course, for the future colonization of the North American continent, one could argue that it was a happy accident. I'm going to go and just say that, I'm going to say Columbus bumping into the wrong spot and saying, I claim America for Hispania. That'd be mine.
And then it not being America, he missed the boat on that one.
I see what you did. He should have. Which boat did he
Amerigo Vespucci
exactly
comes along and he's like, I'm going to name it myself.
Exactly.
Mine would be the Rosetta Stone.
Oh, that's much better.
So
much better
the
response.
French in Egypt, they were reinforcing. Yeah, it was the French in Egypt. They were reinforcing some fortifications, and they were pulling just random bits of wall out and restructuring it, and there was the Rosetta Stone. And luckily, an officer realized this has some importance. I know my students know about it. Had Greek, kind of a more modern Egyptian, and then hieroglyphics, and that is how we know modern hieroglyphics.
It's a great answer, I guess, and you've inspired me. Another similar one was the discovery of the Roman Forum. After years of being basically, a landfill. Supposedly, I believe it was some dignitary from England had sat upon what she thought was a stone to take a rest. Turned out to be a Doric column, which was then exhumed, and now we have the Forum. So that would be my much better answer. But this is why you should always prepare before tests.
I prepped a little bit.
He prepped a little bit. I prepped exactly this much. Yeah. So that's great.
But your answers are probably going to be better.
No, I don't know about you. That's much better. Your response is much better. All right, your turn.
I'm going to spin it. Here we go.
So 7, I think.
7. We'll go with 7.
7. All right,
so 7 is, which historical figure would cause social media chaos?
Oh,
which historical figure?
You get to go first.
If social media was around.
Social media chaos?
So they would just be blowing up X, posting pictures left and right.
Oh man.
I've brought him up before, but Andrew Jackson.
Not a bad
I
chat.
just feel like, especially how his 2 regrets were not killing not killing Henry Clay.
That's a great.
And
imagine that is one of your regrets in life. Not,
my gosh.
I didn't spend enough time with my family.
Yes.
Or I didn't go to church enough.
Yeah.
I didn't kill this guy.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah. So his political rivals were his regrets. So I just picture him just posting left and right, and he was very much a people's person. So he would have been reaching out to the people about that, and just everything that he was doing in terms of killing the bank and Indian removal. He'd be really trying to get sending
listen,
those
Cherokee,
singers.
Cherokee, you gotta go. I've already told you a million times.
Yes.
It's time.
All caps. It would be all caps.
Time to go. Thank you for your
thank
attention.
you for your attention on this matter. Yes,
Unbelievable.
So, and then he would just be a master of GIFs. Like he would have Popeye from French Connection when the Indians are actually leaving, and just that. Again, kids, you won't know this. You know what I'm talking about. But just
I do. I'm surprised you threw a GIF reference in there. I don't think the kids know what a GIF or GIF is. GIF. I don't think
because
they know
you're
what it
probably
is.
thinking GIF like the peanut butter.
I don't. Who has GIF peanut butter? It's all Skippy all day.
Skippy
or Peter Pan. For me, GIF's third on the list.
Peter Pan had. What are we doing?
Yeah, we've got to put in the comments. What's the best peanut butter? I gotta go Skippy.
Okay.
Gotta go Skippy.
Okay.
In my view.
All right, Skippy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to Andrew Jackson.
Anyway, yeah. So that's my guess is I would say Andrew Jackson because he would famously again it was said that if you were his friend, he was friends with you for life. He was true blue with you. If he was your enemy, look out.
Yeah.
So I don't think he would pull any punches. He would just let it all air out, especially how he was he believed that in the election his rivals really led to the death of his wife Rachel with the mudslinging that was directed towards her.
Yeah, that campaign.
A non-political individual, and that he never forgave them for. One of those individuals being John Quincy Adams.
Sure. So. I would say that on that note, if you guys think politics are nasty today, go back to the 1828 campaign after Jackson, who won the Electoral College, won the popular vote, but because he didn't get more than a majority or more than the number needed in the Electoral College, technically didn't win the election. It was handed to John Quincy Adams. Well, they ran it back in 28, and boy, it got nasty. Yeah. Some of the things, as you point out, about they went attacking wives, implying that Jackson had been responsible for the death of 5 American soldiers, which he was due to their what was rumored to be a treasonous behavior. But the famous line from that was, "Better Jackson who fights than Adams who writes."
Oh.
So really slagging off the intelligentsia, the elites. That's nothing new in American politics. At least 200 years back.
It was part of the. I'll just say this: it was part of the corrupt bargain, because third place in that election was Henry Clay, and
finds a way to come up.
And Henry Clay was Speaker of the House at the time, and he said, "Well, I can kind of convince the House to throw the election to you, John Quincy Adams, but I need something in return." And what do you want? I want to be Secretary of State. Why do you want to be Secretary of State? Because historically, up to that point, our Secretary of States went on to become president.
Yep.
So we had Jefferson, we had Monroe, we had Madison, and so hey, it's like,
be the president next.
I want to be the next president.
I didn't realize that. Who was the last Secretary of State to become president? Got to go. Back in the 1800s.
Oh man, I don't know.
Probably back to Monroe.
Yeah. But there's some that are saying that Rubio could be next, and he's our current Secretary of State.
If you look on the poly markets, right now the betting odds are on Vance, but he'd have to buck history in that case.
Yeah, we'll
that's a question for another time.
Who's yours?
There are so many options. When it comes to politics, I think any politician who cajoled or needled Congress to get something done would be active. I think Lyndon Johnson, of course, during the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, like, hey Congress, if you don't do this, I'm gonna blackmail you, which Johnson was known to do. But I'm gonna go a little bit outside. I'm gonna say Napoleon. I'm going to go Napoleon because, Napoleon during his military campaigns, even after Waterloo, he would have found a way to talk about how he actually won, But I think what makes Napoleon interesting to me is, what would he have written from Elba? Here's this guy, he's been, he rises up in France, he does all this, he's this wonderful general until the French turn on him, which the French have a wonderful history of turning on people they once idolized, and they send him away to exile to spend the last bits of his life I want to know what's Napoleon going to be writing from Elba. Not only, I could see him talking about, he's probably having the most boring time, but in his mind it'd be incredibly grandiose, talking about all the wonderful battles, all the plans, if only the French would welcome him back. For me, the thought of Napoleon Xing or truthing or whatever you're calling it, tweeting from the Isle of Elba, to me makes Napoleon's my pick.
Could he also, when he does come back, does he do the poltergeist gif of or they're here or whatever, or like I'm back?
These references, it's amazing that we're talking about people from 200 years ago, and yet the references to GIFs and GIFs feel more dated.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a knock against you. This is how old we are. It happened like that.
We are old.
It happened like that.
Soon, Max will have to keep us alive.
Yes.
In terms of the stories.
Max, does anyone still use GIF or GIF in your generation?
I'd say so. I mean, I've seen it used a lot, not as much as before, but like in Discord and stuff.
I see. We learned a lot about Discord yesterday, but that's neither here nor there. These are great categories.
Yeah.
These are fantastic.
You like it?
I think that one's a little more evenly matched. First one, you smoked me. That one feels a little bit more evenly matched.
Well, you got another spin.
I get another shot. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Hold it. Here we go. Spinning the wheel. We got
Wheel of Doom.
Number one. Number one. What do we got?
All right. What invention reshaped the world?
Oh man.
What invention?
I
know there's so many inventions. But what do you got?
Reshaped the world.
Just first one that pops in your head.
Certainly, it's cliche, but Gutenberg printing press is up there. I mean, from the more modern era, the iPhone, for better or worse. There's that great clip of Steve Jobs debuting the iPhone. There's a mix of applause and people laughing and chuckling and not knowing what's going to come next. You could say the iPhone, the internet back in '92. We could talk about the telegraph. There's so many. God, I'm just going to lean on my American history background for this one, and I'm going to look and I'm going to say, it's probably cliche to say, but I'm going to say the steam engine. I think
that is what I was going to say.
Okay,
go with it.
In this room you can't see it, but there's a big sign that says steam, and I think probably subconsciously it went into my head. Okay, I'm going to go a little different tack then. I'm going to say the invention. I'm going to say the invention of American football then.
American football.
Now, I'm speaking solely from an American point of view. So I'm already deviating from the category which is worldwide. If we go worldwide, it would be probably soccer. But speaking from an American point of view, I think the rise of American football, starting as an elite sort of New England Ivy League college sport, which, fun fact, by the way, Yale University, from my home state of Connecticut, has won the most national titles, even more than Alabama. Now, granted, the last one they won was, I think, in 1919, but nonetheless. But I think the evolution of the game from a very boring, sort of slow, give the ball and run it into the line, New England prep school thing, to what it is today.
Yeah.
And the way in which, in spite of the tumult of American politics, Americans find a way on Saturday and Sunday to come together and cheer for whatever football team they want in a friendly sort of rivalry. I think it might be the creation that has kept America together in many ways through really tumultuous times. I mean, Pete Rozelle, who kind of is the sort of the founding mind of the NFL. It's a sport conceived for the television era. Mm-hmm. It's a rare sport. Right. It's meant to be watched on TV. Yeah. So kind of the concurrent stream of the rise of the NFL with the rise of color television proliferating in America. Good point. That to me has been something that's really connected Americans in a way that very few things have. So while surely there are more important inventions, i.e. the steam invention, and certainly globally there's far more important, in the context of, I think, for most Americans today, if there's one thing they can agree on, it's that they know somebody on Saturday and Sunday that they know what they're doing, they're getting together with friends, and I think that's something nice. So
I like it.
It's probably not the right answer, but I'm going to go with American football.
Okay. Could have gone with the light bulb. Could have gone with.
Oh, sure. Like I said, that's not the right answer. There are clearly more important inventions in American football.
No.
To be clear.
I'll say a couple things. First, who you got for the Super Bowl, Mr. Patriots fan?
Well, okay. Here's what we got. I think if the Pats are going to win, it's going to be a very close, low-scoring game. Okay. Pats are either going to win in a close, ugly, like 13-10 game, or they're going to get blown out. So I think smart money's on Seattle, but if you're, Not that you should be gambling on sports unless you're of legal age. But if you are of legal age and feel like gambling on sports, I think either take the Patriots money line straight up or take the Seahawks to cover at 4.5. That's
Gotcha.
But you don't want to see my betting record. Or maybe you do before you listen to my advice. Not that you should bet on sports.
I'm thinking Seahawks. They're pretty powerful. But anyway,
they may have already peaked, is what I'm saying. I mean, Pats may still have one more good game. Yeah, okay. I like the coaching matchup for the Pats. Vrabel's legit. He should be coaching.
He is a great coach.
Could go either way, but probably smart money's on Seattle. But I'm going with these Patriots. Okay. Let's go.
The other thing, when you bring up football, I always think about this. How, again, sometimes it's confusing when it kind of gets sent to the world.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So Notre Dame famously had a game in Dublin a few years ago, and they were interviewing the Irish fans who came out and were really curious, what is this? And they're like, sir, what do you think of this game? And they're like, I don't understand it. They're like, what do you mean? They're like, I don't know, they just kind of stand around and then they hug. And then they stand around again and then they hug. And that was the Irish fan. They're like, thank you. And so I love that story.
Quickly on that same note, I remember Fred Taylor, who, by the way, best Jacksonville Jag in history. The fact that he's not in the Football Hall of Fame is a disgrace in my view. People in Canton, if you're listening, get Fred Taylor in the Hall of Fame. But he was talking about when the Jags played in London. The first game they ever did there was 2013, and they were talking on the radio. They said, Fred, you've been going to these games for a decade. How have the fans changed? And he said, when I first started going, the only part of the game the Brits cheered for was the kicking game. Like, punt, extra point, field goal, they're going nuts.
Yeah.
Everything else, dead silent.
Right.
He said they've improved since then.
Got you.
I've interrupted you. Go
ahead.
No,
you're good. I was going to go with Railroad. It's big. It's big, especially in American history in terms of settling the West, but also the fact that improvement in transportation, improvement in terms of freight. It also lends to other industries, so the lumber industry, the steel industry, the coal industry. So railroad is huge.
And of course, there's no football without the ability to move. I mean, again, that's the much better answer. Much better answer, I would say.
Well, let's
but
see.
The railroad, let's face it, is not as exciting as football. No one's getting fired up about this Transcontinental Railroad Golden Spike. It's about football.
If we're going to go look at deaths, more railroad deaths.
Way more
than football deaths, but
mostly dead folks.
Mostly dead folks. See, we got to go that way.
All right,
I'm going to do one more.
Yes.
One more spin.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do this again. Let us know in the comments if you like this format.
Yeah.
We'll do this every once in a while.
And also let us know if you have better answers than us to these questions. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
All right.
Let's do it.
Here we go. One more spin. That was a weak spin. What are we doing?
Let's say two. Sure.
Two?
What do we got?
What is one of the oopses or an oops moment in history?
You go first.
Yeah. I love this story, and I'm about to tell this to my students, so you guys get a little preview of this. Okay. So, we all know the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, right? And
gather round, children. You will.
Yes. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. I would argue, because there was another man on the ride, William Dawes, and that Longfellow should have said, "Listen, my children, and take a pause." For the Midnight Ride of William Dawes. Now, it's possible, but let's talk about William Dawes. So William Dawes goes on a different route than Paul Revere. Mm-hmm. He rode longer than Paul Revere. Mm-hmm. And then famously at the end, he's joined up with a doctor. So Paul Revere, William Dawes, and they end up with a doctor who was visiting his girlfriend's house at like 1 a.m. Another story. Dr. Samuel Prescott, right? So you got these three guys, and they're on their way to continue the ride, and then a British patrol shows up. And so Paul Revere says, okay, they can't get all of us. So I'm going to ride straight towards them. Doctor, you go that way. Dawes, you go that way. Now Prescott, he gets going, and he successfully gets to Concord to warn the rest of the Minutemen. Paul Revere, he gets arrested. What about William Dawes? William Dawes does something pretty cool, but then it immediately goes into an oops. According to historical accounts, he actually was being chased by 2 British soldiers on horseback.
Dawes is.
Dawes. Okay. And he rounded a farmhouse, and he shouts as he's riding, being chased, I've got 2 of them coming, or following me. And immediately the British pulled up their horses thinking that there was going to be an ambush by Minutemen, and they turned around. Now, William Dawes, you could picture this. He's like, it worked. And he's looking back like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that worked. Meanwhile, he forgot that there was a fence post in front of him,
no.
and the horse jumped and threw him, and he hurts his leg, and he has to limp back to Lexington, and that's it. That's the end of William Dawes' story.
No one never to be heard from again.
He just disappears. He's not remembered in the poem. So I love that story in terms of the oops. You have this great, aha, my little plan, my little trick worked, and then you immediately fall off your horse and have to limp back in shame and not continue your ride.
You and I are on exactly the same wavelength here. My oops is perhaps a bit more famous, of course, the story of John Wilkes Booth assassinating Abraham Lincoln. So, I mean, Booth, for those who don't know, he's this very well-known actor, a stage actor of his time, obviously a devout Confederate sympathizer, furious with Abraham Lincoln and the assassination. At that point in time, there's no Secret Service, so assassinations were kind of not really considered to be a serious matter. That's why, Lincoln puts a devout Southern Democrat on the same ticket, because the idea that a president could actually be killed, despite past attempts on Andrew Jackson, most famously, had happened. But so, this plan goes well from the Booth point of view. There was a conspiracy to kill the entire sort of chain of command, to kill the Secretary of War, to kill the Secretary of State. Those fail. But in terms of killing Lincoln, I mean, Booth does. Of course, he shoots Lincoln, he slashes Major Rathbone. And if he had just turned at that moment, ran out the door he came in on, hopped on his horse, he probably gets away. He probably rides into Virginia, where he had plenty of people who would have been more than happy to help hide the man who killed the evil tyrant Lincoln. But, Booth, he's an actor.
Yes, he's got to end up on the stage.
He has to end up on the stage somehow. So he attempts to then jump out of the booth where Lincoln is watching the play, or was watching the play, and he's wearing riding spurs to get away. And one of those spurs gets caught on the bunting, the American flag bunting, causing him to sort of land very awkwardly on the stage, shatters his ankle. He reportedly yells, "Sic semper tyrannis, death be to all tyrants," and then hobbles off the stage. He does get away. Of course, in the chaos, people don't know what's going on. He gets away, but because of his injury, he has to address that injury. He stops at the home of a guy, Dr. Mudd, who, in a Florida connection, is easily the most famous resident, I guess you could say, at the Dry Tortugas, which is one of 3 national parks in Florida. It's off the coast of Miami. You need to take a boat to get there. But it used to be a prison, and that was where Dr. Mudd was held. He wasn't executed because he claimed that he didn't understand what was going on. But if Booth is not dramatically slowed down and ultimately killed 12 days later, again, he probably escapes, and who knows, maybe the Civil War is therefore reignited. There's a guerrilla campaign. On a side note, it's actually pretty remarkable that the Civil War, quote unquote, ends in 1865 in April, and actually does end. Now, who knows, maybe if Lincoln survives and continues to push radical ideas like equality for all people, who knows, maybe the South rises again. I don't know.
Well, not too long after that, you have the rise of the KKK.
Sure.
And so on. So there was, in a sense, a rise.
I guess just the idea that the Confederates were willing to sort of lay down their arms and disband the Confederate States of America. It's pretty remarkable given the anger and vitriol in the country. But that's my biggest oops. Booth probably should have turned around, but thankfully he didn't. And 12 days later, he's dead in a barn. Great book on this called Manhunt.
Very good.
You read that one too?
Yeah, it's
really good. So. That's all we have for today. Brian, I enjoyed this.
Yeah, that was awesome.
This is all Brian's idea, by the way. So if you hated it, it's on him. If you loved it, it's on him as well. Max, what did you think?
I thought it was great.
There you go. Max likes it. Please put your questions in the comments. If you liked what you heard, let us know. If you want us to go back to the old format or bring this back, just let us know. We are here for the listeners and the viewers. I'm Joshua Stern.
I'm Brian Dunn.
Signing off for this episode of Mostly Dead, folks. We will see you next week. Have a great day.
Take care.